Hello students, welcome to your science class. You all know we have recently started learning a new chapter, that is chapter 9, the living organisms, characteristics and habitats of your NCERT science textbook. Let me remind you, study of living organisms is always related or interlinked with non-living objects also. Let's begin today's class. Today in this chapter, let us learn the concept of habitat and adaptation. Like we discussed earlier, habitat is the place where living organisms live and grow. Adaptations of living organisms are the characteristics they develop to adjust to that habitat in which they live in. In the previous class, we tried to list few objects that are found in few particular regions. We found that the list is of diverse objects, both living and non-living. We tried to list about the objects found in those regions. But what about the surroundings, their weather conditions, the availability of food and water for the survival? Let's see and learn about all these things. From the list of regions, if we discuss about the sea or ocean, all the plants and animals that grow in water are surrounded by saline or salt water. The air they breathe in and out is also dissolved in the water. That means there in the sea, life completely exists to them in submerged waters only. And from the list, if we consider the desert region, the availability of water is very less there. The climatic or weather conditions at daytime are very hot and at nights it is very cold. All the animals and plants that grow there or live there depend on meager water available in that region. If you observe properly, life exists in both the regions, but the living conditions of a sea and a desert are completely different from each other. Even the plants and animals that are found in these two regions are also different. Let us discuss about or let us differentiate a particular animal from each of these regions, like a camel which live in a desert and a fish which live in the sea. Let us differentiate both these kinds of organisms. The body structure of a camel helps it to survive in desert conditions. They have long legs which keep their body away from the heat of the sand. The amount of water released through their body or the amount of urine they excrete is very little. The camels usually do not sweat and their dung is very dry. That means they do not allow water to get wasted out of their body. And since the camels lose very little water from their bodies, they live for many days without the need of water. Now let us discuss the structure of a fish which lives in water. We see many kinds of fish, but all of them have one common thing about their shape. That is, all the fishes or most of the fishes have the streamlined shape, like we learnt about this in chapter 8. This shape of the fish helps them to move inside the water. If you observe the body of a fish, the fish also has slippery scales on its body. Even these scales also protect the fish and help in easy movement through the water. We also learned that the fish have flat fins and tails which help them to change the directions while moving in the water, and they also keep the body of the fish balanced in the water. The fish respire through gills. That means it breathes with the help of the gills, and these gills present in the fish help them to use the dissolved oxygen in the water. So these are the adaptations a fish has to survive in its habitat, that is in a sea or water. The body forms, shape, structure, physiological changes of the body, etc. of a fish is to live inside the water, and those of a camel helps to survive in the desert. That means both are living beings which have developed their body functions to comfortably live in their own habitats. Out of numerous living organisms, we have just seen only two examples from a very wide variety of animals and plants on earth. We found that each creature have certain features that help them to live in the surroundings in which they are usually found. And the presence of a specific features or certain habits of an organism enable it to live naturally in a place, and this is called adaptation. Adaptations of an organism depend on the place and surroundings they live in. That is why a fish cannot live outside the water or a camel cannot live inside the water. Like we already discussed, the place where organisms live is called habitat. In short, habitat means home. The habitat provides food, water, air, shelter and other needs to that organism to live and grow. And also a same habitat can be shared by many plants and animals. Those living organisms that live on land are said to be living in terrestrial habitats. Examples of terrestrial habitats are forests, grasslands, deserts, coastal and mountain regions. These terrestrial habitats also show large variations, and all these terrestrial habitats are usually located in different parts of the world. And those living organisms which live in water are called aquatic organisms, and their habitat is known as aquatic habitat. Examples of aquatic habitat are lakes, rivers, ponds, oceans, etc. Like we already know, both plants and animals living in a habitat are biotic components of a habitat. And non-living things such as rocks, soil, air and water are the abiotic components of a habitat. Both biotic and abiotic components together form the ecosystem. So this is the balance of nature. We will learn more interesting things about this chapter in the next class. Thank you, children.